Nachos Amigos, and welcome to another fantastic episode of Record Breakers. It's a music podcast where a group of friends gather together and share albums with each other, a selection at a time, taking turns, a nice little quorum. We gather together, like a book club for music, like I say. I'm Petey Rave, your man with no plan. Here with me is my team, my squad, my crew. We've got Brett.
This lady walks into a bar, asks the bartender for a drink. So the bartender, God damn it. Never mind.
And we've got
I fucked it up, guys. Hey.
We've got Drew.
Two men walk into a bar. The third one ducks.
Yes. And we've got Deej, David.
Willie Johnson, key symbol.
I had a prop and everything. This is not going to work.
Ninjas, enter the arena.
Don't worry about it,
And there's
Brett.
WMAC Masters going on here, too.
Don't worry about it, Brett. You would have just been recycling last week's stinger. Anyways.
Spoiler alert.
Like, Marion Cobaretti is nowhere around.
That's continuity.
Not intro, stinger.
Yes.
Oh.
I think we know what.
WMAC Masters was hosted by Shannon Lee, the daughter of Bruce Lee.
Which is important facts right here. All right. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. All right, we talk about music on this
Those nits
show.
have grits.
Supposedly, we talk about music on the show, allegedly.
I hate them so much. They're gross.
We're talking about an album. We're kind of getting our silliness, but I think it's fitting because the guy who sings this album was a big personality and a funny guy. We're going to talk about an album released posthumously, the final album by the wonderful, super talented member of Shinee by the name of Jonghyun, and his album Poet Artists. Kind of named after what he, considered himself. Even had it tattooed on the back of his neck. It's a really cool album. It's really interesting to kind of dive into, and I'm very interested to see what you guys think. Let's start with the guys that actually listened to Jonghyun before. Brett, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I mean, I remember a little about the last album of his that we reviewed, but I figured it would be a little similar. It would be poppy, but not like it is not bubblegum. It's got a little more going on with it, and it'd be produced very well. But otherwise, I don't have my ear to the ground with this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what were your expectations coming into this album?
I remember Jonghyun being very very mid to late 90s sort of R&B soul inspired, but still having that K-pop sensibility to it. So I was expecting more of that. Very strong vocals, because last time the vocals real strong. But having known something that came out very recently to where he would have been recording this stuff as well, I was just sort of expecting more of that. So.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the fresh listener, Deej, David, what were your expectations coming into this album?
It's pronounced Shinee and not Shine. Okay, good to know.
Yes.
My expectations were, as I said when we talked about BTS, I had to set my feelings of cynicism towards the Korean media industry aside and go into this with an open mind, because I had really no framework to go on at all. So I dove in with an open heart and an empty stomach, a la cuisine.
Yes. And it definitely is, this album is a continuation of
Iron
a lot.
Chef me?
Yes.
Sweet potato.
Pull out a red pepper and just like take a big bite. And it's like,
What the fuck just happened?
This album is I think it very much a continuation of what we got from his previous album in She Is. There's some exploration of different concepts and things like that, but you do get that R&B, you do get that soul, you do get some of that stuff, you do get some electronic music sounds, I'm gonna get to a particular song, but some runway music sounds. You kind of bounce around to different concepts, but there's an energy to it that is fantastic. There's a nice it's high production value. It's polished to a T, but it is fun. It has it bounces around to different genres of music. Has a nice diversity, which is really cool. Jonghyun's voice is just beautiful. Jonghyun's voice is just dynamic and fantastic.
Oh man. Boy, Petey. Oh boy. Boy.
It is fantastic. It was a fantastic voiceover today. It works really well, and I think it just is a fun album to listen to. It's very obviously it's a pop album, but I think there's a lot of there's some creativity and there's a lot of passion brought in from Jonghyun, who had obviously a hand into the entire album, it being writing almost all the lyrics and with his team composing all the music.
Petey, I actually wanted to ask you about that because I wanted to ask you, how involved was he with the compositions on this album? Because you mentioned his voice, and I have some things I will want to say later on. So I'm asking, how involved was he?
So if you look on the Wikipedia and the track listing, you can see that under lyrics, music, and arrangement for almost all the track, with the exception of "Take the Dive," and "Just for a Day," his name is listed on lyrics, music, and arrangement for all the songs.
You could be cynical and take that as that's kind of how they do with writing credits for American pop music that is necessarily written by the person who says it. But I don't think that that's going to be much different than over here pop music either.
Yeah,
everybody has help, but I would imagine that there's at least some people
and collaborators. He has a team of people and collaborators that obviously help him out. But this is his album. He has a long enough of a career. He's been at this he had been at the time, right at the end, been at this for over a decade. So he has a bit of clout and a bit of control of his career.
So that's a fair ask, because I when we were listening to a lot of K-pop albums early on in the show, that was my concern, because I then looked up quite a bit that we only know what we know, but what I was reading is that it's the way pop music, not just is made. It's the way pop music is made.
It's pop music.
Yeah.
As I said with BTS.
So we're going to talk about
Machine.
Yes. It is the farm system. But yeah.
But from what I've read, he is more involved than most in the K-pop scene. That's sort of part of his notoriety, was even in Shinee, he was more involved than most would have been in that system.
And he also wrote for other people. Other people, in particular, songs for artists like E-High over in YG. I think he wrote a song for Sunny. Lehigh was going to performed at South by Southwest. I was worried she was going to perform "Breathe" because I was going to bawl my eyes out in the club. I was going to be crying in the club.
Crying in the club.
Yeah,
and also known for writing at least 3 Drake songs.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, Brett, how would you describe this album musically? What would be the themes and elements?
This is some good old R&B baby making music. It's got a lot of that going on. You come here for the beat and the voice. It doesn't really break any new ground with its instrumentation or its production. It's tight. It's easy to listen to. but like it didn't really have to, like, you know, it's nothing against it. It is something that I have heard. You know, you can tell the inspirations on a lot of this, but it is very tight and is very easy to listen to. It's produced meticulously. It's what I expect from an album that Petey brings ever. It's very tight. It's another album that I was listening to while I was casually listening and getting work done. It's an album I actually dug in, and Petey gave us the ability to read the lyrics. I was kind of surprised by some of the lyrics. I normally try to listen to it one time and judge it on its music, and then go back and read the words, because I really don't care about, lyrics in general anyway. But in a genre like this, the lyrics don't have to be great, but they were better than I thought. I also had to figure out why they were talking about waffles. There's other when we get into songs, we'll break things down. But yes, I'm curious to see what everybody else had to think about this.
Yes. Drew, how would you describe this album musically?
Brett's right. The 90s R&B soul is strong in this one. I find his voice to be like really soothing, like in a weird way. Like there's a like smoothness to everything as he's singing that I think is really, really cool. But like this entire album like oozes with that sort of style, right? There, for some reason in the back of my head, I'm going to throw out two names that like popped up. They're like, I should listen to them more often.
Bring it to me. I'm prepared.
90s like R&B sort of flavor was Genuine.
Yeah.
And 112.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Named after a club.
That's the good shit. Yeah.
There's some names for y'all. He made more than just Pony, folks, and it's good. But it's got that like that danceable yet like smooth quality. Like Brett said, this is baby making music. You can rest assured that there are some South Korean children that are going to be born that this was on while they were being conceived.
Good. We need a positive population growth.
Yes. We don't want to go. We don't want the Koreans to get extinct. That's the last thing we want. There's a lot of.
They need more pop stars to create.
We can't make kimchi as good as they do.
I need a Hyundai.
There's a lot of culture there that we
guy.
Can't lose.
Yeah, there's baseball teams that we follow. There's a hat that Petey's wearing.
Music. There's non-pop music that is also fantastic. There's art.
StarCraft needs to be played.
It's like
Tekken, for that matter. Tekken too.
In 150 years, if they're still playing StarCraft, like OG StarCraft, I like the world is going to be a better place.
Exhibition games, yeah.
That's their baseball,
dude. Look, man, StarCraft remastered. Like GSL is bringing that shit back. Like you don't even understand. I'm hyped. But getting past my esports love. The production on here was really just insanely tight for everything. This is the first time I noticed that no matter what speakers I threw this on, no matter what I was listening to it on, everything was mixed in a way that I didn't feel. There was more fidelity to be had when I had good equipment, but I wasn't missing out on what they were trying to achieve with horrendously bad equipment. And I say that as like I was writing notes on my phone as it was playing out my phone speakers, which is not my preferred, but like I've had a busy week. So it was something like I'd obviously listened to it on other stuff, but as I was typing my notes up with it playing out of my speakers, I was like, it doesn't sound horrible. Like I can throw it on the cheap Bluetooth speaker we have at work and like it sounded good there, but then it opens up on other speakers obviously. But it was something that like just surprised me in a way, because usually I hate listening to anything on anything else, but like, or hate listening to music on my phone speakers, but it wasn't that bad.
Anything
The
on
whole
anything
album-
else. Stick with that. I hate anything on anything else.
anything else. Because those words made sense together. But it was something that, like, that to me is always something with K-pop music in general, is like the production quality is always super great. So it's something that, like, I sort of keyed in on this one, on top of, like, just having a fun time with the actual music.
Mm-hmm. Deej, how would you describe this album musically?
To go along with what everyone else has already said, South Korean children will be conceived. However, Petey Rave, when I asked earlier how much of this creatively was Jonghyun involved in the songwriting, the reason I asked that is because I had one issue with this album that kept coming up repeatedly. Because Jonghyun's voice for some of this was really, really enjoyable. But there were songs and there were moments where, for me, listening, it sounded like, rather than being in his chest voice, he was in his head voice and reaching his falsetto, and it sounded like he was really, really pressing. And it almost made me think that these songs were not written for his voice, and they might have been written for someone else. Credit to Jonghyun for still singing them as well as he did, but it felt like a lot of times with some of the songs he was pressing vocally, and it kind of
like it was breathy, or how so?
Breathy would be one way to describe it, but there would be moments where it almost sounded like he was not comfortable singing higher notes.
I mean, I'm not.
Where a song should have been lower, it wasn't. There were moments like that. Because it sounds like his voice is much more in the middle, and there were more higher parts than there should have been. That would be my one big gripe from this album. It really made me wonder about the composition of the songs, because there were moments that, for me, really didn't fit his voice. They just didn't. But as a complete album, everything has already been said.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if, because this album was released posthumously, if maybe I'm not saying it is, but maybe a couple of these songs were songs he simply did the guide vocals for and was writing for someone else. But
That could be.
Yeah, like for another artist, and then like they, his unfortunate passing happened, and they wanted to release an album, of the music he had recorded, and they may have included some of those tracks. I don't know. That's a possibility. Obviously, we have no evidence or proof of that, but that could be it.
I'm gonna get to the bottom of it.
Investigative team.
Yeah. Gumshoery.
But yeah, let's talk about some key tracks. I'll get us started with some of the key tracks. Yes, getting back to the waffle, Whopper, aka hashtag, or hashtag.
Yes.
Obviously, why is waffle, or what waffle is in Korean, is because he saw a hashtag, or he saw a waffle and realized there was a hashtag in it. There's basically, he saw how it looked, and also it's a play on words. I think it's akbul, which is malicious comments. It's kind of like a little abbreviation, which is for malicious comments on the internet. Because this is about the haters. It's a song about the haters on the internet and how they keep talking. How you
talking that shit.
Talking shit, talking about what your cousins, brothers, nephews, neighbors, bosses, nieces, roommates saw you saw you fighting with your girl the other day.
Putting spaghetti and cinnamon in your chili.
No.
No.
Yeah. But I ain't one to gossip.
Stop that now.
But I ain't one to gossip, so you ain't heard that from me. No, you haven't. Love me some Miss Jenkins. Other song. It's going to be Rewind. Rewind. This is. It's a, like I said, runway music. This belongs. It is song. It's the song that was composed. It sounds like it should be playing during Fashion Week at a runway show. Alternatively, I think it's music that belongs in the ballroom. And I don't mean Dancing with the Stars. I mean Pose on FX ballroom. Somebody should be bringing the realness to the song. Or voguing. This is a song.
It's my obsession.
Let your body move to the music.
Also, it's the song that got banned from being able to be played on KBS because it has Japanese in it.
Oh,
that's a big no.
It's kind of silly. And then another song, Before Our Spring. It's the closer track. The only note I have here, I put that song, and I wrote in all caps, "My emotions."
We're in your feelings, Petey Rave.
Yeah, I was in my feelings, especially because of the it's
Where's
the closing
Kiki?
track. Different. The song, the fact that this came out just after his unfortunate passing, and the sentiment of the song, I still play the song and I like tear up a bit, like legit, and because those Gwenchana, Gwenchana means it's okay. It's like, and it's almost like he's reassuring people. It's almost like there's a finality to it, just because this was recorded and created just before, he finally lost his battle to mental health. So it's one of those, like, it's almost feels like a farewell song, which still kind of makes me a little emotional even talking about it. Like, I'm just like, I'm already getting in my feelings again right now. But I think it's just so. We're talking about all the 90s R&B and the baby making music. This is the weepy ballad at the end of the album that just kind of like breaks me every time.
Very accurate.
It breaks me every time. But yeah.
is why it's there, Petey.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, Brett, moving on to you. What would be some of the key tracks for you?
So the lead track and the opening track and the lead single were Shinning, the shinning. Don't want to get sued.
It's about soccer.
It's about pulsating ooh woo 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 woos and a serviceable hook. No, it's noteworthy. There's a reason why it was the lead single. Hashtag whoosh whoosh. I looked up some of the lyrics that were provided by PD to make sure I wasn't missing anything. I wasn't expecting the first line of any of these songs to be "Eat a waffle."
Yes.
Eat a waffle. I'm guessing it has been proved. Like I assumed at that moment that it was how the pound symbol was found on top of a waffle, but it's a solid track. It caught my ears in my many listens. And the final track of this album, Before Our Spring, it's the final track. It's also the second single. It's a straight up piano plus vocals with like some strings thrown on, like bam, Spice Weasel, some strings, and it puts the voice on full display in a minimalist way. You don't get that in the rest of the album. It is very different. Like, it is certainly I'm going to show the vocal gymnastics, and not have the like overproduced and crazy like pop feel to it. It is a straight up piano and voice song. Like there's the album goes all the way from upbeat to the end of the album, where it sort of drops the bottom out. But those are like some you could go you could listen to albums that don't have 3 better put together songs than that. Also, you'd be hard pressed to find any other song that says "eat a waffle" in the first line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Until I write mine.
Yes, the International House of Waffles is the next place that you're going to. The IHOB.
We're working. Me and Petey are working on a waffle versus pancake rap battle.
Yes. So it's I'm just saying, flavor pockets, syrup pockets.
It's like sex syrup
pockets.
Or sex packets.
Like who hungry?
Hot and sticky, baby.
Hungry.
I once got busy in a Burger King bathroom.
Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Shinin' was like, it started off with like obvious like single material to me. It's beyond catchy. It's got a groove. They'll get people on the dance floor. It's got like a hip hop feel in the kick drum, but then like it goes into the chorus and there's like this salsa groove in the background that I was super digging. I can get behind that a lot. Grease, I'm gonna go into.
Like, does he have a car?
Cute him day.
Grease Lightning. This is the one I heard and like I automatically thought like, oh, Genuine. Like I should go back and listen to more of that dude. It's got the baby making music factor that you want out of your R&B music, in my opinion. There's for the double entendre that Brett was alluding to at the beginning of this. The thickness of the bass groove in this, I think carries the song really, really well. Rewind.
The thickness. Ooh,
was thick.
Before I end this, I forgot to put this out there because I put DJM out on this. Did you just Futurama us? Spice Weasel?
Yes, I Spice Weasel. Bang.
But then bang. But then Rewind. The minute Rewind came on, like, what 90s ass cologne advertisement did I get transported into for that? Like, holy cow. Like, dude was just whispering in my ear and there's like a sultry groove in the background. I'm like, the fuck is going on? It was cool. The song was dope, but it weirded me out just a little because I was like, wait, what is going on? What is happening?
Obsession.
By Calvin Klein.
Yes. It was ASMR before people were getting brain boners from listening to people scratch microphones.
Yes. Deech.
Yes, Petey.
Welcome to ASMR Breakers.
We're very plosive around here. My de-esser doesn't work.
Deech. What would be some of the key tracks for you?
The first track that really stood out to me, well, you know what? I'll be honest. You guys already mentioned all but one that I was going to say, so I'll just cross those off. Sightseeing was the one that I had not heard mentioned yet. It was a song that, as I'd said, it sounded comfortably within Jonghyun's vocal range, so I really appreciated that one. And it had kind of a jazzy R&B feel as well. I loved the hook on Just for a Day as well. But the rest of the song, aside from the hook, really kind of goes back to everything that I had already said. But definitely sightseeing. That's sight-seeing. Sight-seeing.
All right. Let's bring it back around the horn and talk about some conclusive thoughts. Brett, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I mean, this is obviously a well-recorded and well-performed album. It's unfortunate that this is where we're like, hey, everybody, let's listen to this album that was released posthumously and not by somebody who's 800 years old. Like, this is a young dude's like Like we're waiting around for Prince albums, like think, oh yeah, Prince had a career. This guy did not get the whole like length of his career. Saying all of that, in no way did this really grab me in a major way. That shouldn't be a surprise. This isn't really the thing that I am normally into. But like all albums that Petey brings that are poppy and from Asia, the whole point is like I am finding what the appeal is, and I can recognize it. And if it won't hurt you to listen to this album. It may not be exactly what you would expect. If you've listened, you might have an idea, but like it's definitely something that this is this, and I'm glad to have that knowledge of the catalog that I do now from my extensive listenings.
Yes. Drew, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
Again, it's something that, like Brett says, this is something that is really a weird thing to go into because it's a really well-made album. It's something that getting into it, and this would be the part where I would usually say in a Korean album, or a Korean album, an album from Korea, however you want to say that correctly.
The South
in English.
part, most likely.
I'm most likely the southern part of the Koreas, where Petey brings this in, and I would normally say, I can't wait for the next album to come out from this artist and Petey to bring it in again, because I would be excited for it. I would be excited to hear it. I think it's a damn shame because I think he had a talent. He had a real talent. He had a real knack for music, and it was something that, it's a damn shame it's gone. And it's something that, like, this album is really good. It's really catchy. It's really fun to listen to. His vocals in it are really freaking good. And if the things that I've read about him being involved in it more than most K-pop artists is true, then he had a knack for composition as well. So it's something that you would want to hear more of. I enjoyed my time with this record. And that's all you can do, I guess.
Yeah. David, what would be your conclusion on this album as a whole?
I would say that it really is a shame that Jonghyun isn't with us anymore, because this feels more like a debut album from an artist rather than a second one, because I feel like what would have been his next album would have been absolutely outstanding, because there were moments here that were really, really good, and then there were still moments that didn't quite pull me in. And I feel like what would have been Jonghyun's third album would have been, to make a comparison, it would have been his Master of Puppets, whereas this album, Poet Artist, was his Ride the Lightning. And I feel like his next album probably would have been like a real outstanding 5-star album.
Boy, that analogy does not work at all. But we'll get onto that at another day.
I don't know.
I'm talking in sequence.
If you talked it backwards, then I'd get you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think overall, the real sentiment is, yeah, it's a shame we no longer have Jonghyun with us. He was not only a talented guy, he was a creative guy. He loved music. This is what his passion was. He lived music. It is kind of almost like a testament to this scary time when the scary time for some people right after you finish a project, especially when you are that passionate. So always make sure you're checking on your people that are passionate, creative people. Just as a sentiment to throw out there. But he was a passionate singer, passionate guy. He was an advocate for a lot of things. He was an inspiration for a lot of people. Like the fact that he, even for a few years ago, was a passionate advocate for LGBT youth, which is even more exemplary in Korea, of all places, but exemplary anywhere, I think, honestly. He was very open about his journey through mental health. He was open advocate for other people and helping them with their mental health. It was something that he was upfront about, and it is something that it is unfortunate that we lost him. Shinee is my group, like my boy group. I had like a lot of girl groups, but Shinee was the boy group that I was always, that I have I don't have it in my wallet anymore, but in my wallet I have like a bunch of the photo cards you get with all the albums you buy in K-pop. You get the K-pop album thing because they know that digital is king, and the only reason you're getting physical is as a keepsake. They give you a photo book. They give you little like trinkets, and they give you, like, for example, with BTS, the last album we talked about, I got this, which I guess I'm just supposed to like have by my bedside table and sleep next to. But it's just fun. But you get the photo cards, and for a long time, the only male photo card I had, and I lucked out in getting him, was Jonghyun. It was a bunch of other girl group members in Jonghyun. And it was there before. And I could even bring the album. I'll probably end up bringing a Shinee album just to illustrate that. And he is a big part of that. His voice, his contributions was a big part of that. Yeah. I think there's not much else to say other than I still miss him, and I'm gonna miss him for a while. And he was a great talent. So go listen to this album, and know that you're out there. If you're out there listening to this podcast, I love you. Just know that I love you. If you're bothering to listen to this, just remember that. No matter where you are at and who you are at, if you're listening to this podcast, I love you. And that's all. That's my conclusion. All right, let's get into the silliness of our haiku reviews. The main event of the evening, what we've all been waiting for, our haiku reviews. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Brett, what is your haiku?
Big voice R&B, posthumous album release. Liked, but didn't love.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what is your haiku?
Bringing his swan song. I was not let down by it. May he rest in peace.
Deej, what is your haiku?
Not a pop singer. A lot of lost potential. What a goddamn shame.
And then, of course, mine's is it's already been heard, because I'm just gonna say the same one I did for the first album because it still fits. 수고했어요. 정말 고생했어요. 고마워, Jonghyun. That's it. That's it for Jonghyun's poet artist. You can, of course, find it on our Spotify playlist. Play Record Breakers, the home game. Follow along at home. Do your due diligence and your dude diligence.
Dude diligence.
Yes. Yeah, you can, of course, find it on there. On that Spotify playlist will be presumably next week's record. It's going to be provided by the one, the only DJM, David. David, what do you got for us next week?
I'm going to need a little help on this one. So, Brett, H to the I to the BBITY, B to the I to the BBARD. I have a question for you.
That's how you spell it. Yes.
Hot or cold?
Some like it hot, others melt when the heat is on. So I'm going to say hot.
Very good. Record Breakers fans, my album for the next episode will be What Should Not Be Unearthed by the band Nile.
So look forward to that next week. but
He was
that
the
is-
character from Namek. He kind of looks like Vegeta. Oh,
Yes. All right. But look forward to that next week. But that, of course, is next week, and this is this week. And you can, of course, find us all over the internet. David is at Please Call Me DJM. Brett is at HibbityBird, HIBBITYBIBBRD. Drew is at X4X. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers. That's the number 4 Record Breakers. RecordBreakersPodcast.com. RecordBreakersPodcast@gmail.com. Rebelly.net for listening to other shows. Rebelly TV on YouTube and other places. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts. iTunes, Stitcher, everywhere else. Like, share, subscribe, comment, give us some feedback. We'd love to hear some feedback.
Give us some 5 stars on iTunes.
Yes.
Or 7.
dang that bell! Hammer it! Hammer that bell! Get them notifications.
All right.
I want 7 stars.
Yes.
All of the stars.
Until next
We'll have to
time.
do a podcast for 70 minutes or something.
Yes. All right, until next
Dave
time.
Meltzer guests on Record Break.
Toodaloo! 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 Toodaloo!
Toodle toot.
Toodaloo.
Oodle toot.
Toodle toodle toodle. Toodle toodle.
Fighting.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.